Hey guys, my name's Pan. In this video, we're going to be going over all of the Ion 2 classes and what they do based off of my knowledge and experience of these classes and what they did in the original game. All of this will likely be very similar as it seems to be a true sequel as far as making this video. Everything is also likely to change with quality of life and updated combat and gameplay. I've played most all of these classes, some more than others, so I'll give you my best judgment to give you an educated guess on information on all the classes. Let's get into what classes and subclasses there are and what they do. In Aion, your class determines your combat style, role, and abilities. The system starts with a base class of your choosing, warrior, scout, mage, and a priest. Then it branches into advanced classes specializations at level 10. At level 10, you choose an advanced class, which we will talk about now. The first class we're going to talk about is one of two archetypes, the warrior, uh, and which is the gladiator. Gladiator is one of the primary melee classes and are known for their versatility, high physical damage, and ability to hit multiple enemies with an area of effect skill. They excel at close combat and are very often at the front lines in both PvE and PvP. In PvP, gladiators are known for high burst, especially in a 1v1 scenario. They have a lot of AoE and crowd control and knockdowns, making them dangerous in group PvP. But gladiators are vulnerable to kiting. Now, let's talk about the other warrior archetype, one of my personal favorites, the Templar. The Templar is the main tank class and specializes in defense, control, and support, making them essential in both PvE group content and PvP team fights. Their primary role is tanking in both dungeons and PvP scenarios, but they are good at crowd control and excellent at pulling, taunting, and controlling enemies. Templars and Aion are very cool because not only can they use shields and defensive buffs to protect themselves and allies, they can also use healing. In PvP, they're not the best solo damage dealer, but extremely disruptive in team PvP. They're very good in group PvP because they can lock down the enemy players, which is kind of my favorite thing about them. If you enjoy being the reliable backbone of your group, leading charges, tanking bosses, and saving allies, Templar is your class. Now, let's move on to the scout archetypes. First up is the assassin. The Assassin is a stealth-based melee DPS class, and they're known for high burst damage, mobility, and stealth mechanics, making them deadly in 1v1 PvP, and highly effective at taking down priority targets quickly. Assassin's primary role is a melee DPS, burst killer in both PvP and PvP. They're known for using stealth to become invisible for both getting the jump on enemies and trying to get out of a losing fight. They have high critical damage, built for explosive combo attacks, and they rely on speed and chaining skills for big damage. The Assassin is a high risk, high reward class, perfect for players who love precision, stealth, and fast paced combat. And Assassins are deadly in their right hands, but demand mechanical skill, timing, and excellent movement to avoid being overwhelmed. Which leads us to the second scout archetype, Ranger. The Ranger is a ranged physical DPS class that are known for specializing in bows, traps, and debilitating status effects, making them deadly at long range. They are extremely effective at kiting enemies, bursting down targets, and controlling the battlefield in both PvE and PvP. They use leather armor, which lowers defense or has lower defense and evasion, and their primary weapon is a bow, but they excel at high single target damage, mobility, and some crowd control. They hit hard from a distance, use slows and stuns to keep enemies away. In PvP, they're one of the strongest kiting classes in the game, ideal for open world PvP. They use roots, snares, and stuns to keep melee opponents at bay. They can burst down squishy targets before they can react, and relies heavily on positioning and timing. Alright, let's move on to the priest archetypes, starting with the Chanter. The Chanter is a hybrid support melee DPS class, and they are unique in that they buff allies, heal, and deal damage, all while using stabs in close combat. They're incredibly valuable in group content due to their powerful mantras and versatile utility. Chanters are a hybrid support, off healer, and DPS, and they can use chain armor, which has a medium defense, and staves for a weapon. They specialize in mantras, which are party-wide buff auras that give bonus defenses, attacks, and other things. Their strengths are versatility, group buffs, and sustain. Melee DPS with attack speed buffs and are essential for parties due to the mantras that boost their HP, defense, and crit. In PvP, Chanters are hard to kill due to self-heals, shields, and defensive buffs. They can stun lock enemies with chains of knockdowns and disables, and they support allies with dispels, group heals, and stat boost. Now let's get to the Cleric, which is the second priest archetype. Cleric is the primary healing class. Clerics are the core healers of the game, known for their powerful healing spells, cleanses, and defensive abilities. They are essential in group PvE, strong in group PvP, and surprisingly resilient in solo play thanks to their armor and utility. They use chain armor, which is also medium armor type. Their primary weapons are mace and shield for defense and optional staff for offense. It's not often you'll use a staff, but if you're trying to do solo content, you can use one. They have a powerful direct and AoE heal, cleansing, buffs, and defensive cooldowns. In PvE, they keep your party alive with using target and AoE heals. They can remove debuffs, conditions from allies, and can also buff allies with defensive spells and resurrection if they fall. This is one of my other favorite classes, honestly, and they're surprisingly good for their soloing ability due to survivability and dot damage spells. In PvP, clerics are one of the most important targeted classes in groups. They can turn the tide of the battle with a well-timed heal or cleanse, and they often are the primary focus. And finally, we get to the last archetypes, which are the mages. So we'll start off with the Sorcerer. Sorcerer is a ranged magical DPS class evolved from the mage archetype. Sorcerers are also glass cannons, though. And I would like to say that this is probably the squishiest class in the game. They deal some of the highest burst damage in the game, but have very low defense and mobility. They specialize in nuking enemies from afar, crowd control, and area of effect damage, making them deadly in both PvE and PvP, if they can stay alive. In PvE, they are top tier burst and sustained damage classes in dungeons and raids, but they use huge burst AoE spells for massive damage. In PvP, sorcerers are extremely lethal in 1v1 and group fights if played well. Sorcerers are meant to be played like a sniper. You hit hard, you control the field, and stay out of reach. It's just a really fun class, honestly. And that leaves us with the last mage archetype of this list, which is the final class, Spirit Master. Spirit Master is a ranged magic DPS and pet class. Spirit Master is often called SMs, summon and command powerful elemental spirits while using damage over time spells, crowd control, and debuffs to slowly break down enemies. They are masters of control, and arguably the most annoying class to fight in PvP due to their fear, silence, and spirit pressure. In PvE, they are a strong solo class due to tanky spirits and dot damage. They can send spirits to tank mobs while casting from a distance, which makes them very hard to deal with alone. You can control multiple enemies at once with fears and roots. In PvP, they are considered one of the strongest 1v1 PvP classes as they can dominate with fear chains, silence, and spirit DPS, and are very, very hard to kill due to spirit tanking. They're ideal for players who enjoy tactical combat, pet management, and psychological warfare in PvP. That's about all the information I have on the classes, but like I said, a lot of this is subject to change, but I'm confident it's going to be very, very similar to this. And that's all for this video, guys. My name's Pan. If you want to see more content like this about Aion and other games, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment on what you thought. I really appreciate that. Thank you.